Hey everyone, Inkwelder here for some casual webcam magic. This match is against Mono Green Lands. I'm very glad that I'm getting to test against this matchup casually because me removing Breya and not having Ensnaring Bridge means that I'm a little soft to Merit Lage. I'm very soft to it. So I think they're generally favored. They have Endurance and Force of Vigor. They have a lot of relevant sideboard cards in the matchup, but they don't play Gaia's Blessing, right? It's terrible at Loam, so that's good. This hand, I'm in the dark, right? I don't know what my opponent's on, but I've got a turn 1 Fable or a turn 1 Painter to turn on Mox Opal, allowing me to cast Fable the second turn, and I have Goblin Engineer. So depending on what my opponent is up to, I've got a pretty flexible hand. They play a diamond, discarding Port. They play Thespian Stage. Okay, now I know what they're doing. They play another diamond, discard Mazavith, and play an Expedition map. What a Mulda 6. So this is a turn 2 Merit Lage. They can go fetch right now, and I needed Red Blast here. If I draw Red Blast, I can play the Painter. I have 3 mana, and then I can Red Blast the Thespian Stage after they activate it targeting Dark Depths. They already have 2 permanent mana sources. This is a nuts hand for them. So I scoop it up before I reveal any information. I needed that Red Blast. I choose to board in Magus. It's a little bit of a liability with Depths, but I bring in Magus and Pithing Needle. I remove the bolts. Definitely don't need those. This second game, I took out Fury. I'm still a little unsure of how to board in this matchup because the spaces are tight. This hand is great. It's a turn 2 Magus. I've got Karn, I've got Fable, I've got Goblin Engineer. I've got all the key pieces for interaction. I'm missing Needle. I really just want one sideboard card against them. One of the 4 cards, and I'd almost mulligan to them unless I had like a Welder Engineer type situation. So I choose to run out the Tomb first, mostly because I don't want to expose a Great Furnace right away to Wasteland. I'm going to sack one to Engineer, most likely, and so I just have to be careful of wiping out my colored sources. So they fetch, get a Forest, play an Exploration, play another Forest, play a Reclaimer. So that's their plan, but they don't have any colored mana right now outside of the green mana. So green is not good at removing Magus. It's why we play Magus instead of Blood Moon. So I jam the Magus, and at this point, Magus is not going to attack. They play Glacial Chasm and a Bojuka Bog, just revealing more information to me. They don't really know what I'm playing yet. They saw Great Furnace, so they could assume I'm Painter, but yeah. I play my second Furnace here and run out Fable. And really to get the Fable engine going and start filtering my draws. I'm not swinging with Magus because they had 3 mana up for Endurance. They have 2 Forests. So me losing Magus at this point is game over. So I'm just not going to do it. They go and they fetch Depths, which came in with no counters. And this is why Magus is a liability. If they figure out a way to get rid of Magus, I lose the game. It's that simple. Magus is extremely finicky in that regard. If I could get a second one, it would be great. I discard my second Fable to Fable because I can play Engineer here or Karn if I wanted, but Karn I'd have to block with Magus to protect it, and they don't have a diamond for me to like uptick or anything. So they went and rotated with their Reclaimer to block the Shaman. To make Reclaimer a 3/4 and get rid of it. I play Engineer and they scoop it up though, because now they know that I'm Painter, and they didn't have a good answer for Magus. So now they're going to adjust their board. They didn't know what I was playing, so they're going to make sure they have a way to remove Magus this time. Last game, I've got Mountain, the City, I've got turn 2 Fable, but I've also got Pithing Needle to slow them down and Painter. So I've got all the sort of makings of a great hand, and Needle will slow them down, which I'm all for. They start with Diamond, discarding Port again, play a Saga. So I can run out Needle on Saga here, but if they want to make constructs, it's not great for me if they start on a very aggro plan, but I can beat them being an aggressor. I brought those Furies back in. I much prefer to avoid to avoid Thespian stage. But anyway, back to the game. They went and crop rotated their Dark Depths to Wasteland to get rid of my Ancient Tomb, and then they played an Expedition map. And now on my draw step, they're getting rid of the tombs. So they wanted to know what was going on, probably to figure out what to fetch with the Urza Saga, would be my guess. That's really good information. So I've got the 2 mountains, a city, 2 fables, and Needle. So the fables are going to have to do some work here. Fable's going to slow down the game, but I want to find Karn or Grindstone. That's the best possible line. So I play the mountain and can jam Needle. I could Needle Expedition map or Saga, but I would much rather Needle Thespian stage and just turn that line off until they find Force of Vigor. With their Saga, they fetch Pyrite Spellbomb. So that is their answer to Magus. That's what I have to be careful of. They sack map and go get another Saga. So now they're going to start making constructs, and they've got Diamond. Karn would be great here at shoring it up, although I do need to protect Karn. Again, I don't have Ensnaring Bridge in my sideboard. So I drew Red Blast, and I blast their Mox Diamond. And it's possible that I should have blasted the Pyrite Spellbomb, but I wasn't worried about it at the moment. I think Pyrite Spellbomb might be better. They go and play the Saga. I'm not worried about stage because I've got the protection against it. So they've got 2 Sagas now. They're going to be pooping out a lot of constructs. And while I've got Fables, like a lot of Fable value going, and I think I had discarded like land and Lotus Petal there to my Fable, I'm going to be able to cast another Fable. I decide that I'm okay with a Shaman trading. I wanted the treasure. And if they're willing to sacrifice one of their constructs, they're going to have 3 constructs, right? 1 this turn, 1 the next turn, and then a third. So if I can get rid of one of them here for a Shaman token, that's fine. I can then trade. I trade in that regard, and I play my other Fable, generating another Shaman. And I use the treasure to cast Engineer and fetch Dragon Engine, mostly because I just saw Surgical. So I don't really want to fetch the Grindstone right away, and they've got Pyrite Spellbomb to get rid of the Engineer. So I would rather put a card that belongs in the graveyard and not one of my best win conditions. They didn't have Pithing Needle for their Urza Saga, so they actually fetched Diamond to get colored mana. So I'm glad they didn't have Needle. They would have needled Kiki, probably, because I've got 2 Fables. Probably pretty important. So this is the advantage, though, of throwing your opponent off, I guess, and conceding before they see anything round 1. So my Fable flips, and I discarded more land, I think, to the other Fable, and just cast a third Fable. So I'm starting to have a pretty decent board presence, which is nice, and I'm at 18. So I swing to get the treasure because I want the treasure for Engineer. I don't want to sack the Needle or the Painter. So they go and grab a forest and they bog me. So they get rid of the Dragon Engine. Again, that's better than them getting rid of the Grindstone. I guess if I find Karn, I can wish for the Grindstone at that point, which would be nice. But there are other Sagas ticking off now. So they've got 2 constructs. They've got the Pyrite. Now there's Haywire Might, which can get rid of the Needle. Got to be really careful of that thing. And I've got Diamond. They've got the Diamond for mana. So they swing with a 5-power construct, and I just take it. And I possibly could have chumped it by making a copy, but decided to just let it hit me, and that's fine. So now I've got I've got another Fable that's ticking up. I get another treasure, but they just block it. And I was just very focused on generating artifacts for Engineer. We don't play that many artifacts, and I don't want to put Needle in my graveyard or the Painter in my graveyard. And I ran out of Welder. That's the new card that I just played. So I have 2 Kikis, Welder, and Painter. The Engineer is dead because they shot it. Or they're shooting it now. Sorry. They swung with their guy, and I was going to chump with the engineer. I want an artifact in the graveyard so that I can protect the needle from Haywire Might. So with the trigger on, with the activation of Kiki on the stack, I went and they went and spellbombed the engineer. So I just blocked with Painter instead, and I should have just blocked with Painter anyway. I knew they could shoot engineer. I may as well play around it. So I now have 3 Kikis, and the board is really strong for me at the moment. I don't necessarily have any welder shenanigans going on, but I've got 4 mana, and I can make 4 copies of Kikis, but I am at 9. So they're swinging for 8 here. So going to 1 is a little precarious. So I want to just be a little careful of that. I can make 4 constructs, and that's what I was doing here, was doing combat math. I could make 4 constructs, and I choose to make a copy and double block with the Fable token, basically to trade for one of the 4/4s and get one of those jerks off the board, and now I'm at 5. So I think that's the right play, and I'm going to use the rest of my mana to make 3 copies of Kikis. So this is where so they've got the Haywire Might to block, and I'm able to swing. What I'm trying to do here is keep up 1 Kiki and Goblin Welder. So I swing for 6, and they just take it. So now they're at 7. So the double Kiki is pretty interesting. I want to keep up Kiki and Welder so that if they do try to remove the needle, I can swap the needle for Painter with 1 Welder, copy the Welder, and then swap it back, and I can protect from the Dark Depths line. They have so many ways to get Dark Depths, which is why I'd rather turn off Thespian Stage than like a 1-use type thing. I suppose that I could swap the needle, try swapping the needle. It's awkward. Anyway, I made 4 copies at the end of my turn. 4 copies plus 2 2/2s. That's 12 damage. Plus a welder would be 13. They're at 9. They can block 2. And I had a lethal attack here, and I should have seen it. And I missed it because they can block 2 and sack the Haywire Might. I forgot about the Haywire Might sacking and gaining 2 life. So they're at 1. If I had attacked with the welder, they're dead. I gave them an extra draw step to find a multitude of things. But even still, me casting the Simian Spirit Guide, having a Painter Servant, I've got 4 creatures and they need to block all of them or win the game that turn. And they do scoop it up. So really, really, really tight game. Wasn't expecting game 3 to go like that, but that's the power of like a card like Needle and them not finding Force of Vigor. Right? No, they didn't find Force of Vigor. They didn't. Endurance would have been good on that board, the stats for it, but either way, managed to get there. I hope you enjoyed the game. And by the way, I don't think it's right to board out. I boarded out in that 3rd game, Grindstone and Saga, because I was running out of thoughts on what to board out and figured I could wish for Grindstone with Karn. Just keep your grindstones in the deck. Like, grinding them out is the best way. Force of Vigor might answer it, but still, I think it's a little bit more reliable. Anyway, I need to think more on the board for this one. It's really tight because I want to have Fury for Reclaimer, but I hope you enjoyed the match. I've got more coming this week. So 90s MTG matches later tonight, and I'll try to get an afternoon game in to do commentary on that for tomorrow and such. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed, and thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.